How does it feel to discover that your closest loved ones are traitors on the most family-oriented night of the year? This story begins with a slap in the form of a forgotten gift. At the Thanksgiving dinner, my husband's family gave gifts to everyone except me. His mother smirked. "We just forgot about you." My husband Tom laughed along with her. I responded with the same smirk. "It's okay, I didn't forget about you." Their smiles vanished when they opened my gift and realized what it meant. My husband's name is Tom, and he is very close with his family, particularly his mother and two sisters, Carol and Jennifer. They were a tight-knit trio, and I never managed to become part of their circle. Tom and I have been married for 6 years, and all this time I felt like an outsider. It all started with small things. They planned family trips and forgot to invite me, or reminisced about times I wasn't part of their lives, so I couldn't join the conversation. Margaret, my mother-in-law, was the worst. She could smile at me while putting me down, excluding me so skillfully that if I complained, I'd look crazy. My sisters-in-law, Carol and Jennifer, weren't any better. They followed Margaret's lead, making snide remarks when they could. Tom always told me to ignore it. He never defended me, called them out, or asked them to stop. He just laughed and claimed I was overreacting. And I endured because I loved him. Thanksgiving was always celebrated at Margaret's house. She loved hosting guests, boasting for weeks about her homemade decorations and famous stuffing. It was quite the show. Every year I hoped this time would be different, that they wouldn't make me feel invisible. But I was wrong. We arrived at her huge, perfectly decorated house in Georgia in the evening. The house smelled of cinnamon and turkey, and everything looked like a Christmas movie. Margaret outdid herself. As soon as we crossed the threshold, I felt that familiar feeling of being an outsider. Carol and Jennifer warmly hugged Tom, but only gave me polite smiles. Their eyes remained cold. Margaret barely acknowledged my presence. Tom, of course, didn't notice a thing. Dinner went as well as it could when you have to listen to Margaret admire Carol's promotion and Jennifer's new house while completely ignoring me. I sat quietly, smiled when necessary, and hid how much it hurt. But then, after dinner, Margaret clapped her hands. "We have a surprise before dessert." Every year, Margaret organized a Thanksgiving gift exchange, although it wasn't really an exchange, more like a show. She loved playing the role of the generous hostess, giving gifts to show how much she loved and appreciated her family. One by one, she handed out presents: a designer bag for Carol, a spa certificate for Jennifer, a bottle of expensive whiskey for Tom. Even the grandchildren received new toys. Everyone in the family got something, everyone except me. Margaret turned to me with a smile. "Oops, we just forgot about you," and laughed. Carol and Jennifer joined her, and then, to my horror, so did Tom. It hit me like a slap. Years of restraint, years of being ignored, years of being treated as if I wasn't worthy of attention, and Tom found it funny. Something cold and sharp stirred within me, and I smiled back. "It's okay. I didn't forget about you." The laughter stopped. I took a neatly wrapped box from my bag and handed it to Margaret. Her smile faltered. She hesitated before taking the gift, glancing around as if expecting a trick. Silence hung in the room. "Go ahead, open it," I said. Margaret slowly unwrapped the paper. Inside the box was a stack of documents. She frowned, pulled them out, and skimmed the first page with her eyes. Her expression changed, her cheeks lost color. She flipped to the next page, then another. Her hands started to tremble. Carol leaned in, followed by Jennifer. They read over her shoulder, and then I saw it. The moment of horror when they realized what the surprise was. Margaret's business, her beloved event planning agency, was in trouble. I knew about it because I had been researching it for months. Margaret had been underreporting income, hiding money, recording non-existent losses, and evading taxes in very illegal ways. And I had the evidence. Everything was thoroughly documented and ready to be sent to the IRS. Margaret looked up at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. I took a sip of wine. "Oh, I had a lot of free time while you all forgot about me." Margaret's husband snatched the documents from her hands, his face reddening as he read. "Margaret, what the hell?" Carol and Jennifer began leafing through the pages, their expressions shifting from confusion to panic. "Mom, what is this?" Jennifer's voice trembled. Margaret didn't respond. She couldn't, because she knew. She knew her business, her reputation, her entire life. Everything was about to collapse. Tom stared at me, no longer laughing. Nobody was laughing, and I wasn't finished yet. The room was dead silent, interrupted only by the rustle of pages and uneasy breathing. Margaret's hands shook as she clutched the documents. Carol and Jennifer looked at their mother as if seeing her for the first time. And Tom? Tom just sat there, stunned, looking at me as if he didn't recognize me. I let the silence stretch, savoring it, allowing them to feel the weight of what had happened. Then Margaret did what she always did when cornered. She attacked. "You little brat," she hissed, her voice trembling. "Do you know what you've done?" I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I think I do." She turned to Tom, grasping her last chance. "You're just sitting there, do something." Tom blinked as if waking from a dream, his mouth opening and then closing. His eyes darted between me and the documents until he uttered the worst. "Why did you do this to my mother?" As if it was I who humiliated him, as if I crossed the line. Something within me broke. Margaret sighed, her face twisting into a triumphant smirk. She thought I'd back down. She thought her words would make me small. She was wrong. Margaret threw the documents onto the table. "These are fake. You made it all up." Carol, still looking at the numbers, raised her head. "Mom, this looks real." Jennifer flipped to the last page, her voice flat. "These are tax forms." "No," Margaret said sharply. "It's a setup. You set me up." I smiled. "Dear, you set yourself up." Her hands clenched into fists. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "You thought I didn't notice all these years?" Margaret gasped as if I had hit her. "You thought I wouldn't see how you treated me, how you laughed at me, how you excluded me." Tom squirmed. His sisters looked down. Margaret opened her mouth, but I continued. "You've been evading taxes for years, Margaret, and very sloppily." Her husband, silent until now, asked, "How much trouble is she in?" I tilted my head. If she fixes it quickly, maybe just fines. But if the IRS digs deeper, I clicked my tongue. It'll be bad. Margaret's face went pale. Her husband wiped his brow. "God, Margaret." Tom finally understood the seriousness of the situation. "Mom, what have you done?" Margaret turned sharply to me, her eyes burning. "You ungrateful thing. I brought you into this family, fed you." I laughed genuinely. "Brought me into this family?" I repeated. "Margaret, you purposely forgot about me today like you did for all 6 years." She had no excuse. And then an unexpected turn occurred. Carol suddenly threw the documents down. "How did you know to dig into this?" I raised an eyebrow. "What?" Jennifer narrowed her eyes. "No one just starts snooping into someone else's taxes. Did you suspect something?" A strange feeling gripped me because they were right. I began investigating Margaret's finances not because of her slights. There was another reason. Something I wasn't supposed to know. Margaret was hiding money not just from the IRS. She was hiding it from someone else, her family. And then I realized Margaret wasn't just evading taxes, she was stealing from them. Carol and Jennifer began flipping through the documents again, faster this time. "Mom," Carol's voice was sharp, "why are some transfers marked as personal expenses?" Jennifer frowned. "Wait, why is there a withdrawal from Dad's account?" Margaret froze. Her husband slowly turned to her. "What the hell is she talking about?" Margaret's eyes darted around the room. I saw her mind frantically searching for a lie, an excuse, anything. But Carol and Jennifer didn't relent. "You said you couldn't help me with the house," Jennifer hissed. "You claimed you couldn't lend me money when I lost my job," Carol added. Margaret broke out in a sweat. Her husband grabbed the documents again, eyes wide as he flipped through them. "Margaret, answer." But for the first time all evening, Margaret was silent. Tom looked at me, his face filled with shock and betrayal, as if he didn't understand whether I was saving his family or planting a bomb. I met his gaze and waited, because it was about to get worse. The silence in the room was thick, like the air before a storm. Margaret's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape, but there wasn't one. Carol and Jennifer didn't take their eyes off her, flipping through the documents faster. Their thoughts caught up to what I had already realized. Margaret wasn't just cheating taxes, she was stealing from her family, and she knew it. Her husband Richard clenched the papers so tightly his knuckles turned white, his face flushed with anger. "Margaret, what the hell?" Margaret opened her mouth and closed it again. "You lied to us." Carol's voice trembled. "You said you couldn't help when we needed it, but there was money. You hid it." Jennifer was paler than ever. Tom was still silent, his eyes shifting between me and his mother, trying to solve the puzzle that lay right before him. Margaret's hands were twitching. I watched as the gears in her head turned, seeking a way to regain control. She took a breath and made a decision, her voice turning sweet and condescending, the way she always manipulated. "Girls, dear, you misunderstood." Carol sharply lifted her head. "Don't you dare!" Margaret blinked. "Don't call us dear, Mom. We're not fools." Jennifer nodded. "You stole from us, lied for years." Margaret's lip twitched. "Where do you think you got all those nice things? Do you think life is fair? Do you think you didn't benefit from what I did?" The temperature in the room dropped. It was a mistake. Now her daughters weren't just angry, they were disgusted. Margaret realized this. Her eyes widened for a moment. Then she turned to the only one who always protected her, to Tom, grabbing his hand. "Tom, darling, you don't believe this, do you?" For the first time all evening, he flinched, his face showing discomfort. I watched as the struggle played out in his mind in real time. His mother was lying, his sisters were furious, his wife had just exposed everything, and Tom had a choice to make. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled. "Mom?" Margaret squeezed his hand. "They're trying to turn you against me." Tom looked at me again, his expression strange. I saw the questions, the battle in his head. I didn't plead, didn't argue, I just waited. Then he made his choice. "You stole from Dad." Margaret recoiled as if she'd been slapped. "Tom?" His voice grew louder and sharper. "You stole from Dad?" Margaret's mouth snapped shut. It was a moment of truth, because if there was anything Tom believed in, it was his father. And now his mother looked at him with guilt on her face. Margaret's silence was an answer, and Tom knew it. Carol jumped up, thrusting the documents into Richard's hands. "Dad, look at the last page." Richard flipped, scanning the text, and froze. His face turned from flushed to ashen, his hands shook. He looked up at Margaret as if seeing her for the first time. "You," his voice cracked. "You emptied my retirement account." The room went silent. Jennifer gasped, Tom's eyes fixed on his mother. "What?" Margaret's expression twisted. "I did what I had to." "You stole from me," Richard's voice thundered. Margaret flinched. "I worked my entire life for that money, Margaret. We built a life with that money, and you... Richard staggered, breathing heavily. His hands shook so violently the papers slipped and scattered across the floor. No one moved. Margaret's eyes darted in desperation. "I was going to fix it. Enough with the lies." For the first time all night, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Carol turned to Jennifer. "That's it. We're cutting ties." Jennifer immediately nodded. Margaret's head snapped up. "You can't. We'll see." And then there was a crash. Everyone turned just in time to see Richard clutching his chest and collapsing. For a moment, everything froze, then chaos erupted. Tom rushed forward. "Dad! Dad!" Carol and Jennifer screamed. Margaret covered her mouth with her hands, her face showing shock. "Richard! Richard!" I was already dialing 911. The operator answered, "911, what's your emergency?" I made my voice steady. "We need an ambulance right away." The next 10 minutes were a blur. Margaret was hysterical. Carol shook her father. Jennifer was frozen. Tom was pale, shaking, muttering, "Dad, stay with us, please. Stay with us." And I stood and watched as Margaret's world fell apart, knowing this wasn't even the worst of it. Paramedics arrived quickly. As soon as they entered, Margaret fell into hysterics. "Oh my God, Richard, please help him!" She rushed forward like a grieving widow in a melodrama, but I noticed something. She didn't touch him, didn't hold his hand, didn't stroke his hair, didn't whisper to him. She was just playing a role. Tom was the one holding his father's hand, his entire body trembling. Carol and Jennifer stood aside, their faces pale and unreadable. I just watched because I had seen this before. Margaret knew she was losing, but Margaret didn't lose. So she tried to rewrite history in real time, becoming the poor, devoted wife instead of the woman just caught stealing from the man she supposedly loved. It nearly made me sick. We drove to the hospital behind the ambulance. No one spoke. I was with Tom, but he wouldn't look at me. Not when we parked, not when we walked in, not when we sat in the waiting room. Carol broke the silence first. "Mom, what were you thinking?" Margaret didn't respond, sitting on a plastic chair, wiping dry eyes with a tissue as if she were the victim. Carol continued, "You stole from Dad, from us all." Jennifer shook her head, her voice was sharp. "And you lied for years." Margaret's lip quivered. Then she turned to Tom because he was her last hope. "Tom." Her voice softened, full of false sadness. "Darling, you don't believe I'd want to hurt anyone, do you?" Tom flinched, his jaw clenched, and then he turned to me, not to his mother, to me. His voice was quiet. "Was this your plan all along?" I froze. "What?" His eyes blazed. "You wanted revenge, to destroy my family." My stomach dropped. Margaret's shoulders relaxed. She had won him back to her side. After everything, after all the lies, the theft from him, his sisters, his father, after her husband collapsed on the floor, she was still more important to him than me. I stared at him, my mouth dry. "Are you serious?" Carol's head snapped up. "Tom, don't do this." Jennifer looked on with disgust. "Mom's at fault for everything." But Margaret pounced. She leaned into Tom, touched his hand, her voice gentle. "You were always the only one who understood me." and Tom let her. That was it. That was the moment. I felt nothing for him anymore. I stood up slowly. Margaret's gaze slid to me, her smile small and satisfied because she thought she'd won. I exhaled softly and then laughed. Margaret's smile faltered. What's funny? I shook my head. You, Margaret. You're funny. She tensed. Tom grabbed my wrist. Just stop, okay? I pulled away, and then I let it all out. No, Tom, you stop. Everything froze. I turned to Margaret. For 6 years you treated me like garbage, excluded me, belittled me, made me feel like an outsider, and as soon as I pushed back, I'm the villain. Margaret opened her mouth, but I wasn't finished. I turned to Tom. You let them treat me that way. His face hardened. It's not that simple. Yes, it is, I snapped. Your mother stole from your father, lied to your sisters, and you're still defending her. His jaw clenched. I shook my head. You were never on my side, not once, and I don't expect that to change. I took off my wedding ring and tossed it into his hand. His eyes widened. What are you doing? Leaving. Margaret gasped. Oh, don't be dramatic. I laughed again. Dramatic? Margaret, I destroyed your life in under an hour. Her face twisted. Carol and Jennifer didn't stop me. Neither did Richard when he woke up and learned the truth. He filed for divorce. Margaret lost everything. And Tom? Tom tried contacting me a week later, said he finally understood what I had been telling him all those years. I blocked his number because I was done waiting for him to choose me. I had chosen myself. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.